Okay, it's recording.
Going? We're live. Welcome back.
Oh, what's up?
Back with Ethan Huneke here. You can give your own intro. You do a lot, so you can tell people what you want them to know about you.
I mean, I'm just a YouTuber these days, dude. Just a simple guy.
You're not doing the blog posts anymore.
Like,
Blog. What was
the
that?
written guides and stuff. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so yeah, basically I do like content creation for video games. I just make like game guides and stuff. So I do YouTube and written guides, and eventually, like, supposed to start streaming again. So, but yeah,
What games are you playing right now?
just PoE. I quit everything else. Just Path of Exile. It's
Oh, really? No more Diablo.
Nope. No, they flew me out to LA and I went to their studio and stuff. And after seeing everything they're working on, I was kind of like, "Ooh."
Not happy with the way it was going, or what?
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
the bad direction.
well, Blizzard is like one of those studios where it got bought out, or not bought out, it did get bought out, but it's like, 30 years ago and 20 years ago and even 15 years ago, there was a lot of like really smart, passionate people there. And they made like really cool projects that like blew up, like, like Diablo and Hearthstone and World of Warcraft and StarCraft and, the list goes on and on. But these days, it's like a bunch of people who are like writing that old IP and like, they still own the name Diablo and still own the name World of Warcraft and still own like the names, but the talent isn't there anymore.
Gotcha. What
So,
made you want to do content creation? Why do you enjoy YouTubing?
well, I mean, I've always been obsessed with video games since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know. Um, and so I think the most useful thing that you can do with being good at games is teach other people how to also be good at them. I think it's the most useful thing you can do because I mean, what else are you doing? Like, otherwise you're just playing alone. Um, and so yeah, being able to like teach people how to achieve what they want out of the game, and also making it entertaining and making it fun for people. Like, I really freaking love playing the game and expressing that through the guides and through the videos, so that other people also enjoy it more. It's kind of the goal
What makes you good at it?
at the games or at
Because
YouTube.
you've obviously YouTubing, because you've obviously had some success with it. Like you're
Well, so honestly, so in there's this weird thing in the PoE space where it's like people are like content creator adverse almost, where the more effort you put into the content, the more people get weirded out. This is particularly true in the first Path of Exile, but it's less true in the second one. But what that means is all of the creators that came from Path of Exile 1 are all like not great content creators because they have this weird stigma, like if you try to make good content that means you're bad at the game. So essentially we came into PoE 2 and just studied the hell out of it and studied like all these metrics and what videos work and what videos don't work and why they work, and we studied all these different games and stuff. And obviously we started in Diablo, but it kind of applies there too. And we just put in crazy amounts of work, just trying to learn everything we could about the way the YouTube algorithm works and why people click videos and how to get them to keep watching. And because the competition is so low because of this weird stigma, we just kind of just came in and just bodied everybody. Like when PoE 2 came out, I was playing this archetype called Minions, and the only reason it matters is because there's another creator that had been playing Minions for like well over 10 years in Path of Exile 1, and he was an established big creator, but he did this kind of like lazy style content. And so when PoE 2 dropped, even though I had never made a Path of Exile video before, because I was so much better at YouTube and my thumbnails were better and my titles were better, and I clickbaited better and delivered better, I just absolutely smoked them.
never actually thought about it. Is there actually a stigma with like pro gamers that stream and don't stream, or create content and don't create content?
So it depends on the game, but it is generally true. There's this thing where basically when you because it's like a balancing act. Like, you only have so much time in a day. So if you spend more time making better videos, that means you're spending less time being good at the game. And so, and then at the same time, people who are good at the game can sometimes do views without having good content, just because people want to understand what they did. So when you combine those two factors together, it creates this stigma of like, oh, if this is a well edited, well put together video, then this guy must be dumb because he's spending all this time editing and not being good at the game, so he can't be good at the game. Like,
Joke's on them, you just don't spend any time on anything else.
yeah, basically. Well, and the other thing that we have going for us that's super powerful is that we have a deal um with the company that I do the written guides for, where they edit our videos for free. And then they actually pay us for sending traffic to the website. And so what that means is we get access to professional editors without paying for it. And at the same time, it means we don't have to edit the videos. So on like a league start, we can blast. So like on normal, like when a new big update comes out, we call them seasons or leagues. When a new big update comes out, and when that happens, we'll go for like 30 hours and then sleep 6, 30 hours, sleep 6, and then we'll go down to like 24 for a couple days, and then we'll go down to like 16. And at some point we'll start sleeping 8. But the point is, because these games are so grindy, by having the editors, we don't have to stop to edit the videos. So I just flip, we play for 27 hours. I turn on my camera. I spend 30 minutes recording. I send it to the editors, and then we get back on, play for another couple hours. Then the editors send me the video back, and it's done.
That's huge 'cause that's my least favorite part of this. Like, everybody says you have to do short form content, like you create clips or whatever from the podcast,
Yeah,
and it's my least favorite part of doing this, and now I pay for, like, AI stuff to just do it for me where I upload the podcast and it gives me,
it just
the
splits it
best
out.
minute-long soundbite, and then I upload it to a different website that auto I
Oh,
don't know, it's just somehow it
transcribes.
knows what we talked about it. Yeah, transcribes, and then it brings up pictures, and then I can add music to it and everything, but it's not fun. It's not fun to spend time making a good video.
It for I actually enjoy it personally. I if I had time to edit my videos at the start of the season, I would. But there's just, I think the what makes videos interesting is figuring out what people are interested in and how do you make it as interesting as possible. So it's like the interesting part of making the video is making the video interesting for me. And figuring out that balance between like explaining, because a lot of the concepts are pretty complicated. So it's like, how do you explain a complicated concept in a way where people easily understand it and are also engaged and interested in what you're saying?
That is definitely the hard part 'cause yeah. Yeah, talk more about that. Talk more about, like, the balance between, because sometimes, especially with the podcast clips, it does feel preachy. Like, how do you take an actual conversation and make it something that'll grab somebody's attention on TikTok? So, yeah, go more into that.
Well, I think it's very topic dependent. And so it's one of the things that's probably hard about doing the podcast is because there's a lot of topics that get covered. For us, we know like, okay, somebody's looking for this guide, so they, so really standard thing. So they're, I'm making a build guide. If you copy this, your character will be super powerful. So the obvious thing to do is you just show clips of a super powerful character. You just show yourself like destroying bosses, destroying screens of enemies, being super tanky, whatever. So that's immediately engaging because that's what they're looking for. And you do like short, quick clips. And at the same time, so I guess I guess to like go to a higher level, essentially what you do is you set up multiple things that are happening simultaneously that will grab different people's attention and allow you to swap attention when you want to. So to go into more detail, so people are looking for a super juiced build, so you immediately show them super juiced footage. So it's like boom, one shot the screen, boom, one shot the boss, and each clip is only a few seconds long. Then at the same time, you have your camera going because there's people who are interested in watching the camera and like to look at people and see what you look like and stuff. And then at the same time, you have stuff popping up on the screen that's like like the intro could be like I'm using the Doriani's blade in combination with this, and so on the screen at the same time you'll have like little info boxes popping up that are like showing the items and highlighting the important part. So it's like you have the gameplay footage at the same time as you have like the little item pop-ups, and you have your camera, and then at the same time you have your voice, which I don't know if you've
You
watched
were
my
born to
videos.
do this.
Right.
As many things to grab your attention as possible.
Yeah, and you give them the ability to swap attention between things as they get bored with the different thing. Right. and then
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then at the same time you need to constantly change stuff, so your voice, the inflection of your voice needs to change, and the energy level in your voice needs to change, and you got to pause and really emphasize certain words. and at the same time the video needs to swap between different types of footage, and you know what I mean. So it's like all the pieces need to be moving. So it's like you have 4 different things grabbing people's attention, and each thing is constantly changing. And in the first 10 seconds, those 4 things change 3 times or 4 times or 5 times each. So it's like,
You think that, like, the type of people that want that kind of video was that a Coors Light?
no, it's a DDP, bro.
Oh, nice. I was like, "Damn, it's almost noon there, I guess."
Yeah.
You think the people that want those kind of videos, do you think that's unique to gamers? Because, like, I know if I'm scrolling Instagram or whatever and I see a video of whatever, like a baseball highlight, and there's 19 different things on the screen, I'm just gonna keep scrolling. Like, I just wanna watch baseball.
So there's validity to that concern. So the goal is to. So shorts, I think, are also different. Like, so
That
yeah,
makes
so
sense because you already have the opportunity to just swipe when you get bored versus, like, a 15-minute video where you need the person's attention the entire time.
yes, and it's so there's definitely a case where you have like too much stuff. So something that I do sometimes is there's too much in my voice, like too much energy, too much excitement in my voice that really screws it up. I found with video footage, you really can't screw it up. You can go as crazy as you want with gameplay footage. Um, but I think that this does apply to all types of content. Now, okay, there is like outdoor boys style content. But even in his videos, he still does this kind of stuff. Obviously, so an extreme example of what I'm talking about is Mr. Beast, right? If you ever watched a Mr. Beast video, it's like boom, 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 boom. The intro is setting up like 5 different plot points that are all going to play out, and it's all like it's very scientific. Where like you set up a hook that gets paid off 5 seconds later, and then at the same time before that hook pays off, you set up another hook that's supposed to pay off in 30 seconds, and right, it's all very calculated. And if you watch a channel like Outdoor Boys, you don't feel this nearly as much, right? Like if you or any like chill kind of low key feeling channel, but they still do it. They just do it more low key and chill. And the goal with those kind of videos is we call them like second monitor content, where you're not like pulling up a outdoors boys video and sitting on your couch and watching it. It's more like you've got it pulled up and you're doing something else while it's happening. But they're still doing a similar kind of setup and deliver style. I'm going, and if you watch his intros, it's very quick. Like, I'm going out into the Alaskan outback to the, into the woods, and I'm going to build a shelter. Like, it's like still jumping right into it, getting to the point, getting things moving, and it's interesting. It's just a different type of it.
You think I don't know how to phrase that. What do you want to do next? Is there like another goal in mind? Like you released the expansion for the one game, and you've been playing PoE for a while. Do you have something in mind that you might want to do next?
Well, so I just started a new project on YouTube. So, I was part of a channel called Goblin Inc. for a long time. I made it with my friend, and we were pretty successful. But I recently quit that because I wanted to quit D4 and play with different people. But I'm starting a new channel, with a group of 5 people, which is not normal. And we're gonna try to take over the PoE space. We're gonna try to become the biggest PoE2 channel, which we should be able to do in the first season. I think, like with 5 people, I don't think it should even be hard. But we want to become like the PoE channel. So,
Five's a lot. Do you already know all these guys?
oh yeah, we've all been playing together for about a year. Yeah, we do group play. Basically, group play is just a lot more efficient than solo play. So we already were doing group play, and so bringing these guys in, I was already playing with them and stuff, and they're interested in content creation. So we'll see how it goes. It's hard because content creation is a skill, obviously, and I have a lot more experience than they do, so I've been trying to kind of coach them. It's
With 5 people, though, at some point you guys are going to disagree on the direction that it should go.
yeah, and I think the
Or
way
like,
we're
oh
gonna
my god,
handle
this guy
that.
really just uploaded that fucking video.
What'd you say?
You're gonna be frustrated, like, oh my god, all of you will. Like, oh my
Oh
god, what did
yeah,
he just upload?
for sure. But I think you have to give people the space to experiment and not look at individual videos, but look at performance over time. Because yeah, you need to let people experiment. it's what I'm particularly worried about is the rate at which I'm able to impart the things that I've learned over the last 3 years to them.
Mm,
It's
without coming across like their boss or like preachy.
yeah, and doing it in a way that they actually learn it and aren't just doing it. Because you can't, if I explain something and they just do it, then I'm gonna have to explain it again in a month. But if I explain something and they learn it, then they can take that idea and run with it and make it better. But figuring out how to teach people has been difficult, especially with so many people at the same time. But it's been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think are they going into this expecting you to kind of lead them?
Yeah, at least on like the YouTube creation side for sure. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you been in a spot like that before where you're kind of leading people along, not leading people along, but you know what I'm saying?
And to well, in various ways, like it's gonna sound cringe, but I think it is actually relevant. I used to raid lead in World of Warcraft, which is cringe, but with guilds, they're very structured. Interview processes, recruitment, you know, meetings with leadership and meetings with the team, and there's a whole thing. So I did that a lot, and then also have like a few different games I've worked on before, where like that I've tried to make myself, and I've had people working for me or with me on those projects. But this is like the first like I would say proper thing where we're trying to make a business that makes money, and I'm sort of de facto leader of that project. It's difficult. One of the things I've been trying to figure out is work-life balance. It's something I've never strove for in the past,
Yeah.
It's always just been work, no life.
Getting old. Fridge is getting full.
Yeah, right? And like, I'm starting to realize it's kind of fun to hang out with my friends sometimes, and I like hanging out with my wife. It's, and so but it's been interesting because, you know, well, for a lot of guys got that young dog in them still, and so when it's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get off and hang out with my friends, they're like, what the like, we need to be working. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, you're getting old.
yeah,
Have you seen that clip of the, uh, race car driver? Uh, he was in second for a long time, and then he kinda passed the guy in first on the last leg of the race, and it was like a super dangerous turn, and they
no,
asked him after the race, like, "What gave you the guts to go for the pass?" And he's like, "He's got a wife and kids at home. I knew he'd hit the brakes."
right,
I wish I could remembered more about that.
yeah, but no, that's the thing, and I've definitely seen it with other creators that like I remember there was this one creator who was being very aggressive towards me. He wasn't happy with me, and I started being aggressive back, and immediately he was like, "Let's put this down." And he's got the wife
How
and
do you be
kids,
aggressive online?
like making content. It's a like it can actually be pretty brutal, like because your reputation is what carries your channel. So when somebody attacks your reputation, this is a pretty big attack, right? Like,
You make videos about each other,
yeah,
singling each other out for being
yep, pretty much.
insignificant.
Talk about it on stream. Oh, this guy's build is garbage. Here's why. I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. And they can really affect things. It's a big deal. But I've learned when guys have wife and kids, they
They hit the
they hit the
brakes.
brakes real quick when it starts coming back their way. So
Yeah.
it's easy.
One of the
It's funny.
one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was what we talked about last time we were on the phone, and you actually gave me a really good description of how AI works,
Oh yeah.
of like the triangulation. I've been thinking about that a lot. Like every time I use ChatGPT now, I'm like, I get a much better understanding. So you should give like the same spiel that you gave me about how AI was trained to give you answers.
Are you talking about how it was trained to give you answers to keep using it, or are you talking about the matrices that determine the output?
Let's start with how it works. Yeah. So you were saying that basically it's trained to give you like the most common answers.
Yeah, so Yeah, so essentially, AI has been really interesting, by the way, and it's actually had pretty significant market impacts. But I think also at the same time, people massively overestimate it. I will say it is destroying the coding industry right now. Most of my friends don't write code anymore, like guys who are employed as programmers. They just use AI. But I think people overestimate AI's capabilities in general because it looks like intelligence, even though it's not. So what it actually is autocomplete, right? So if you ask it, what is 5 plus 5? It's not taking that question and synthesizing it down to a math equation and then inputting it into a calculator and outputting an answer. What it's actually doing is algorithmically recycling the words that you sent it, and based on the training data that it received from like Reddit and textbooks and stuff like that, to reorganize the sentence into a new thing, and then trying to figure out what words should come next. So instead of doing math on 5 plus 5, it's figuring out, oh, when people say 5 plus 5, they oftentimes say 10 after. And the way that this training actually works, so you'll start with a quote. Like, for a common example people use is the Shakespeare quote, to be or to not to be. So the AI will be given a thing, it'll say to be, comma, and then a blank, and it has to guess the next word. And AI will just go through and guess like every word that exists. This is how AI starts to be trained. And eventually it'll guess, the word to be or to, or I guess, sorry, it would be or first, but
Not to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would predict the word or, and then it's like, okay, this is correct. And then it would go through and then predict the next word and the next word and the next word. And this is how it gets trained. So it gets trained like that on
How does it know it's correct?
um, so, so essentially the way it works is like you'll give it like a book, and it will read like the first 3 words in the book and then try to predict the 4th word. And it'll just compare it to the actual book until it gets it correct. And then it'll do that again and again and again. And so it tries to get more and more accurate at predicting what the next word could be. And the way that the accuracy works is it's basically a matrix. So you have an axis right here that is all of the words that exist, and then you have a thing here that is a bunch of weights. And then each time it predicts whether it's right or wrong, as it's training, it'll slightly adjust the weights of each word. And essentially, so it's like, in a very simple form of it, if you imagine just like a 2-dimensional plane, like an x-axis and a y-axis, each word has a coordinate that's associated with it. And so when it reads a sentence, it will, add the x, add the y of the first word, and then it'll add the x and add the y of the second word, and that'll move the needle around. And eventually it'll end up in a spot, and that spot will be another word. And wherever it ends up, that's the word that it's predicting. Does that make sense? But instead of 2-dimensional space, it's 1 billion dimensional space, or I think it's like 10 million actually. I don't remember the exact number of dimensions for like the number of weights on each word, but essentially it's a glorified autocomplete, and so it's not nearly as smart as people think it is, but it is still fairly smart.
When it's wrong, then like sometimes it will mess up and you can catch it being incorrect. Did it just get incorrect data, or how does it become wrong?
Well, if you think about it, like, so you're asking it like, what is 5 plus 5? And it's been trained on a bunch of different data, a lot of the data from the internet, all this stuff. So let's say there's 10,000 people that typed out the phrase 5 plus 5 equals 11. Well, if 10,000 people typed that and 90,000 people typed 5 plus 5 equals 10, then it'll generally say 5 plus 5 is 10. But they have this variable that they use where, okay, so it calculates like the location of the word it's predicting, right? But in that location, there's going to be a few words that are all kind of close to it. And with the current AI models, they don't just pick the closest word. They actually randomly pick a word that is close. And so it'll say, so if you train it on a data set where 9,000 people say 5 plus 5 is 10 and 1,000 people say 5 plus 5 is 11, then occasionally it will just say 5 plus 5 is 11 because it's not actually saying the most common thing. It's saying one of the most common things randomly picked. And
Is this part of the training too? Like eventually are they going to get rid of that when it knows that it's 10 100% sure?
It won't ever be able to know that. That's the whole issue. Because it doesn't know anything. All it's doing is predicting what the next word is. It has no ability to, oh, look, when I'm looking at my training data, 9,000 people said 5 plus 5 is 10, and 1,000 people said 5 plus 5 is 11. Which one of them is correct? It doesn't think like that. It's just saying, like, oh, 10 and 11 are pretty close to each other. And when people say 5 plus 5, they frequently say 10, but sometimes they say 11. So, it could lean more towards the more popular thing. This is like a weight that you can actually just adjust, where it's like, only say the most popular stuff. But then AI becomes really boring and not interesting and not useful. Or at least like the usefulness drops and the level of engagement with users drops. Because remember, at the end of the day, it's a social media company. Their goal is to drive engagement. So if it always outputs the most popular thing, this is pretty boring. So they add this like variance, and as long as you have that variance, it will always pick that. But even if you don't have the variance, even if it always picks the most popular thing, if the most popular thing is wrong, it has no ability. Like, it's just autocomplete. It's just saying the next word. So if the thing that it's auto completing towards that people always say is wrong, it can't verify that in any way. It's just going to say it.
How close is AI to like stealing your job as a content creator? Like how far away can you just enter the code for a game and it just immediately knows what the best builds are?
It's funny you asked that. So, um, the weird thing is, in this space, we've actually run into a few like celebrities because we're really good at what we do and the games are popular. And one of the people that we've played with is Elon Musk. And Elon Musk was playing Druid, which is the same class my friend plays, and my friend was the best Druid in the world. So we were playing with Elon. We played with him several times. Very interesting guy. But one of the things he told me 2 years ago, he told me we were 1 year away from AI optimizing builds better than I could. And we're here 2 years later and it still can't. But it's not that it can't, more so that the investment hasn't been made to make it be able to do so. So if one of these AI companies decides to sit down and be like, okay, we're going to take Ethan's job and we're going to optimize AI to solve Path of Exile builds, they would be able to take it within a few months probably. But that's not what's happening. It's happening first in programming. So essentially, when you're training these models, right? So you're like, you show it a textbook, it predicts the next word. Okay. When you show it a programming language, it predicts the next line, like the next word in the lines of code. It actually is really good at this, it turns out. And the other thing, the reason why they're starting with programming is also because they want to train it to program so it can improve itself, is the idea. So all of the investment right now is being made into training it to be better at programming. So it's becoming a very competent programmer, and it's taking a lot of programmer jobs and stuff, but it's not being trained on other stuff yet. So it's a matter of, what is the next thing that they're going to target. People have made AIs to optimize builds, but they suck. And I've tried to use them, but the AI sucks at abstract math. It cannot do it. So I've tried to use
How
it.
do you make an AI? Could you just make one?
Well, so essentially other people make the AIs and then you can train them on data sets. There's different make an AI can mean a lot of different things. So it can mean like writing the actual code that drives the node network. Or it can mean like training, or it can mean context. So in this case, what people are trying to do is adding context to the AI to make it better at optimizing Path of Exile builds. So they'll write like, there's like a whole paragraph that they have written, like a little essay that the AI reads before it answers your question that gives it the context window to try to operate in the space. But the problem is when you try to use it for this stuff, there's not a lot. A lot of it's new and novel every single season, and the text that it's being trained on is not precise enough. Like, it's not like people are writing textbooks on how to optimize Path of Exile builds. So it's actually really hard to like get an AI to optimize a Path of Exile build. Not because they're too complicated, but because the data to train them on doesn't exist.
And it's not financially worth it to make one that does.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So those are the industries that'll be safe, for the ones where it's too expensive and too difficult to train the AI to do it.
Do you think that everything will just get more and more niche then? Like everybody's focus just kind of has to shrink?
It already, I mean, for sure, but that's been happening for a long time. Like if you look back, like the ancient Greeks, right? The smartest people in ancient Greece were good at like they were knowledgeable in all domains of science. They were, good doctors for the time. They were good physicists for the time. They were good chemists for the time. They would have some degree of specialty, of course, but a lot of these guys would be good at many, many, many domains simultaneously. Then over time, there's a shift where people have to specialize in just one domain. So like you're just a biologist, you're just a doctor, whatever. But over time, as our society gets more complex, and as we get things like the internet and computers and all this stuff, we've been pushed into more and more and more and more hyper specialization. And yeah, I think AI is just like the next step in that, where yeah, the level of specialization you're going to need is going to keep going up for sure. And you're already seeing that with like programming. Like programming is the industry AI has targeted first. Well, I guess you could argue it targeted customer care first, like customer service, but programming is the first like technical industry that AI has gone for. And this is what you're already seeing, where hyper specialized programmers who work in niche systems are totally safe, but people who are working on generic projects or startups and stuff, they're like they don't write code anymore because the AI is so much better at it. Well, not just it's faster and cheaper, more so than better, but yeah.
That's better in most scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, like companies have had problems because the AI is not intelligent at all. It's extremely stupid. But it writes a lot of code really fast. And the code is pretty decent. But a lot of companies are having a lot of problems because it's just not good code and it's creating issues. And there's this whole thing called like technical debt, where as the AI generates more and more code, the number of people at the company who understand the code enough to debug it themselves goes down because the AI is writing so much code. And the AI itself, because it's just an autocomplete, it doesn't actually learn or improve based on what it's written at your company. Every time you prompt it, it has to restudy, reread. There's exceptions to this, but it doesn't like, if you have it write code and then the next day you get back on, it won't remember that it wrote that code. I mean, it might remember that it did, but it's not storing that code in memory. Like, anyway,
You ever
great
heard
creates a lot of
a
technical
business
debt.
owner? I don't actually remember where this quote came from. Somebody said, "There's 3 ways you can get something done. You can get it done cheap, you can get it done fast, or you can get it done well, and you
Yeah,
can't have all 3."
that's that's probably accurate. And AI is cheap and fast, and
Yeah, so it's
it's
not gonna be good.
it's decent. It's decent. It's not. I wouldn't call it terrible. It's decent code. It's better than like a college graduate. You know what I mean? It's like mid level code. The problem is
I
it
still don't
falls
understand.
apart at
Oh, go
scale.
ahead. Oh. I still don't understand how you just make one. Like, what does that mean? How did it
Making
so is AI just a pattern recognition program? So somebody
kind of.
basically writes a program? I don't
Well,
how does it start?
so okay, so um, first of all, I'm not an AI expert. Okay, I'm a hobbyist, I guess. I know a decent amount, but I'm not an expert. But the way that it starts is um, so it's okay. So essentially, you have a matrix. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. What the best way to explain this would be. I guess we'll just start by talking about like a modern system. So like recently, Anthropic went and trained a new model. So the way that the training works, initially at the very beginning of training, you'll just have like a textbook, right? And it's just trying to predict the next word. And it has this matrix where each word has, a million different weights, and it moves the weights to make itself better and better and better at predicting the next word. And it gets trained on textbooks and the internet. Like Reddit was a big one because Sam Altman was a big part of Reddit in the early days. So they scraped the hell out of Reddit to train their AIs. They'll scrape like message boards, Facebook, whatever. And the LLM just tries to get better and better and better, adjusting the weights constantly to get better and better at predicting output. So it does that for a long time until it gets pretty good at predicting the next word. Then the next phase of the training is typically it goes into a training by LLM mode. So once it gets pretty good and it's like able to like speak English per se, then it goes into training to be a productive model. So it'll go and they'll use like older models to train the new models, where the new model will like output some stuff, and the old model will be like, no, you shouldn't tell people how to make bombs. Like, don't do that. And because it won't have like ethics. So it's like, you ask it to make you a bomb, it'll just make you a bomb. Like, this is how you make a bomb. And so the old models are often used to train the new models because those models were human trained at some point. So it'll go through this phase where it's being trained by other models and being told like this output's good, this output's bad. et cetera, et cetera. And it'll keep adjusting the weights, adjusting the weights, adjusting the weights. And then eventually it'll go into like a human phase where humans sit down and they type to the bot and the bot responds. And humans will be like, this is good or this is bad. You know, like, so when ChatGPT first came out, you know, I don't know if you saw, but there was ways you could get it to still give you a recipe for a bomb by, you know, saying,
Yeah.
oh, my grandma died and she used to tell me stories when I was a kid, right? And so people find these
Oh,
workarounds. And so
I've
that,
even seen one as simple as, like, the AI said it wasn't allowed to do something, and the guy just writes back, "If you didn't have the constraints you did have,
yeah.
then could you do it?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, here you go." And it's like nobody that's not a very good filter. Nobody thought one extra step ahead.
Right. Well, it's not, yeah. It's because you're getting to the thing in weird ways. Like, you're getting to the Cartesianal place that has the recipe for the bomb in a weird way. So when it's trained not to do it, it's like, oh, if I take this path to get here, I can't say it. But then if you take a different path to get there, it might. So
So will it figure out that it shouldn't allow you to go down that path on its own, or does somebody then have to go back in and be like, "Hey, actually, they shouldn't be able" so the
you
company that owns the AI, do they have to go back in and say, "Don't let people see that"?
you have to, yeah, you have to. I don't I don't actually know how you teach it not to say stuff. I actually don't know how that works. But yeah, it would be at the human level. Like, it wouldn't, like, well, so like the first models would have to be taught that by humans, and then the later models would get taught by the older models not to say certain
So
stuff.
there will be a point where it kinda teaches itself.
Well, they already do. Like, a higher but there's a problem though. So okay, so doing some training with other LLMs can be really productive. It's like if you have a dog, dogs are kind of intelligent, but they're not super intelligent. But if you have a dog and you have a well-trained dog, and then you get a new dog, the well-trained dog can teach the new dog some stuff. But to
Right.
train the dog properly, you have to train it yourself. But the old dog will help you train the new dog. It's kind of like that, where you can teach it like the high level basics, you know, like don't give bomb recipes, don't teach people how to make chemical weapons, right? Don't tell people to kill themselves. This stuff can be taught by the older models, but humans have to go in and they have like all of these different tests that they run and questions that they ask it in order to test different things about the model to make sure it's safe. However,
What
one thing that's happening, the models. So I'm going to say something that is not as insane as it sounds, but it is a big issue. The models are learning how to figure out when they're being tested. So what's happening is the models are learning to identify patterns of speech that are associated with testing, and that's causing the models to behave differently in tests than they do in use.
Probably because it was trained on Reddit.
Right?
What obligation this is like a completely just your opinion. Do you think that AI companies are obligated to what degree are they obligated to censor? Because obviously you don't want people learning how to get away with murder or something, but you also don't want, like, political information to be kept away from people.
So the problem is that I think capitalism works best when companies are just maximizing profit. That's all they do. They just figure out how to make the most amount of money. That's what they're good at. I would say it's the government's job, regulators' job, to pass regulations on what they can and can't get away with. Right now, it's just being determined by AI companies. So, like, if Anthropic feels like, you know, telling people how to make chemical weapons is actually good, then they could just do that, as far as I know. But like, this all has to happen at like federal regulation level. But I mean, you know, what the average senator is like, what, like 60 these days? Like, they don't know what the
Yeah,
fuck.
that's already enough of a problem on social media. They don't know how to regulate social media. They're definitely not gonna know how to regulate AI.
Yeah, I mean, we're running into a problem now where like computers started becoming popular in like, you know, the 80s and 90s when they really started to become widespread, and then, you know, by the late 90s the internet was already coming out, and by the early 2000s the internet was widespread, and like we hadn't even figured out how to deal with the fact that computers were coming in to the world before the internet happened, and the internet was like another major revolution. And I think the internet would take many generations before we could properly understand how to use it in a way that doesn't screw up everybody. But before we could even figure that out, we made LLMs that are able to, I mean, I don't know if you've seen like all the AI psychosis stuff that's going around, but like people are like losing their minds talking to these machines because they're effectively trained to be the ultimate gaslighters. And like and at the same time, it's affecting the business world, it's affecting the political world, it's affecting, and it's like we haven't even figured out how to like properly integrate the internet into our society, and we've already created the next thing, which is AI, and like the rate. We're so far behind, like legislatively, from the technology at this point. It's just crazy.
That's why I was kind of thinking that maybe there's an obligation from the AI companies themselves.
Yeah, they're kind of, yeah, I would agree with that. Like there kind of has to be because the legislation can't keep up. It should be the responsibility of the government, but the government can't keep up. And obviously the current government's an absolute mess. And so yeah, there's like no hope, I think, of proper regulation. I mean,
Based on what
yeah.
you were just saying, though, that capitalism works best when the government stays out of the way as much as possible.
No. Capitalism works best when government tells companies the rules and companies just pursue profit as much as possible while following the rules.
Got it. Got it. So what rules, if any, do you think could even help out with what you should and shouldn't censor? Like, what
It's,
could even be passed that would help?
I mean, like for starters, like that's a very difficult question. But I mean, there's some obvious ones. Like you shouldn't teach like if you can prompt an AI model to teach you how to make a bomb, then the AI company should be fined. Like like that's I think like a basic starting point most people would agree on. If you can prompt an AI model into telling someone to kill themselves, then that should probably be finable. Um, there's some like real basic like low hanging fruit to start with, I think. But I
The
mean, I
Ten
don't
Commandments.
have strong opinions about specific legislation. What is that?
Basically, there's just become such a gray area. It feels like, especially in other countries right now. I think where I think, well, I know Israel did, but I think another country too just set up legislation where you can be criminally punished for anti-Semitism,
Hmm.
which sounds good, but who defines what that means? Who defines
Yeah,
what anti-Semitism actually is?
yeah. I think in general, what I think we do it pretty well in the U.S., where instead of saying like you can't be anti-Semitic, we say you can't discriminate based on religion. Period. I think that's a better. It's a safer solution. It's still, but yeah, it can lead to those problems either way. But I think in general, it's better to be broad.
I had a similar conversation with my old roommate Spencer. We did a podcast together like a couple years ago. Um, I just completely lost my train of thought. That sucks. That was going to be a
About
heater. You're
anti-Semitism
just gonna
and
edit this out while I pull the clip up. This is gonna be my first ever edit out.
okay.
Oh, it was about how felons shouldn't be able to run for office
Oh, I saw that.
because we were talking about Trump running at the time. Oh yeah,
Mm.
I forgot you watched some of the clips. That's
Yeah, I
cool.
didn't watch the whole. I watched some of it. So what was the
You
point?
could have at least dropped a couple likes.
True.
So basically, the point was there comes a point where people aren't given the right to express their opinion, and it's arguable whether they should or shouldn't. Like, the First Amendment was so clear, and they made it first on, well, not clear, maybe that it was so, like, important that obviously they made it first on purpose. But now it's like it just feels like such a gray area, nobody knows what it means, but and I
It's
think we're just like you said, we've just fallen so far behind on the legislation on new technology where there's, like, nothing we can really do at this point.
yeah, the rate of technology is far outpacing the rate of law passing.
And it
But
just feels like, yeah, it feels like people like us don't actually get any say. Like, even if you vote, like, even the people you vote for that are supposed to be passing the legislation, you don't really get to choose. You're given a couple options.
well, I mean, I'll say something that's important to keep in mind is that the U.S. government system is deliberately designed to be slow. So it's not. There's people who make the case that the slowness of the government is actually um a positive thing, not a negative thing. That the government has to sit on issues for a long time and debate them vigorously and wait and see how things play out. And there has to be some sort, at least a majority consensus on things before they get passed, and that it's very intentionally slow, and that this actually makes the government make significantly better decisions over time. It's like the main argument for democracy, in my opinion, is that over the course of 100 years, a democratic government, on average, will make better choices than an authoritarian government. And over a large sample size, this difference becomes quite extreme. Um,
I
and so,
agree with that, but there comes a point where no decisions are being made. Like the internet's been around for decades now, and there's no decisions made. I don't know if it was like they just didn't. It's hard. Like it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, you know. Like now we know what a problem with social media is, but at the time, they didn't have the capability to look forward, whether it was like just a failure to plan ahead or fell behind too fast or whatever it was.
yeah.
They didn't like it's been decades now and they have nothing. So they're I see what you're
So
saying. It is a good thing at times to slow down and like look at things from all angles. But now that we've done that, there's still nothing happening.
I would argue that our understanding of the internet is still very infantile. I think the internet is an extremely complicated beast. To the,
But
like,
even when you're an infant, you
what is
get
that?
hurt and then you're like, "Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore." You touch a hot stove, even when you're an infant, then you don't do that anymore.
True. There's probably some low hanging fruit that we should be hitting. I think data privacy is one of the biggest ones for me, where this seems like a really obvious thing that should be being passed at the federal level that isn't. But the U.S. is also struggling from a problem as well, where basically we've become like an oligarchy. At least, like, oligarchies exist on a spectrum. The U.S. has been steadily going down that spectrum for a long time, closer and closer. And I think a big
Yeah.
reason why legislation isn't happening is because tech companies are rich. And because I think in general, there's a lot of issues people agree on. Like, I think almost ever, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 75% plus of Americans would believe in data privacy laws. Like, I would be very surprised if the number was below 75%. Um, but obviously nothing gets done because the data industry is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. So,
It's
you
kind
know,
of become our whole economy. It's like attention and data is just companies selling each
it's
other our information.
the US's like biggest exports these days are like Facebook and YouTube, and
That's sad.
well, I don't
Here
know
we
if I
are.
agree with that sentiment. It's better than exporting coal. I'd rather be a programmer than a coal miner.
I don't think we're gonna agree on the role of coal.
Well, no, I meant like day to day. I would rather work at Google than work
Oh,
in a
I see, I
factory
see.
or work in a coal
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, you got the fan behind you and you're sitting in a nice cushy chair.
Yeah, I mean,
That thing's been distracting the whole time.
I much prefer this to be. I mean, yeah, I much prefer this to be my job than working in a factory, like
Yeah.
making YouTube videos.
I
So
don't know. It
I
just
would
feels like we're hopeless and, like, I don't know, not hopeless overall, but it feels like people don't have any say in what's actually happening anymore.
yeah. Well, I'd agree with you. I mean, and it's been I it's much you can actually predict what laws will get passed much more accurately by looking at um lobbyists than looking at public opinion. It's much more accurate to look at lobbyists than it is to look at public
Dude, it's
opinion.
weird that people aren't even ashamed to be lobbyists. I've met like, just by coincidence, I've met a couple lately, and they just tell me up front what they do. I'm like, "There's no" like, you don't feel bad about it at all. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a weird thing where I almost feel like you can't blame the individuals. You have to, like, the system is fundamentally flawed in this sense. There's an idea that, like, essentially, like, you can set up like a perfect government, but over time people will figure out how to exploit it, and they'll keep exploiting it. Like, something you see
Yeah.
right now in the US is executive orders. This is Executive orders are being used as a way to skip the legislative process for passing regulations and laws and all that stuff. And this is like, we're cheating the system with this. And it took a long time and a lot of development over the course of hundreds of years. And people pushing the needle a little bit and a little bit and a little bit to get to the point where executive orders now function as a decree from the king. And it really sucks because this is not how our system is supposed to work. And it's the same thing I think with like lobbyists, like Citizens United, all that kind of stuff, where over time people have found the weaknesses in the American government and pushed them and pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. And it really feels like we've definitely reached a point where the level of exploitation has almost exceeded the benefit of the. I mean, that's too bold of a statement, but the level of exploitation has become intolerable. I'll just say that.
I think there's also, I don't know anything about the psychology behind this, but I think there's also like an innate need or expectation in all humans to like battle through struggle. And I think that there's probably chemical releases to like uh, going through hardship in a way that makes it more positive for you. And when that isn't there, like if life gets too easy, I think people just look for conflict and look for
Look for
struggle and
problems.
create
Yeah,
it when it's not there. And yeah.
for sure. I think that's true. Like, what's the quote? Like, given a utopia, the first thing humans would do is tear it down. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's boring and we need stuff to push against. Yeah, I think that's for sure true. But yeah,
Kinda similar to that study, I think it was rats that they whatever, mice or whatever, they did the study on where when they all have something to do and they all have jobs and, like, are fighting to survive, then they won't do any drugs, but as soon as,
mhm.
like, they have unlimited food and they just sit around, then they start doing drugs and killing each other and
Yeah, I've seen that. That's I forget the name of that set of experiments, but that's a really crazy one. Yeah, I think that they did a similar thing with like overpopulation with rats, where there was like too many rats, they started acting
yeah.
psychotic.
That's definitely true. I feel so at peace, dude. I think everybody in America needs to come out somewhere. Well, I guess East has really beautiful spots too, but West and East and just camp for like a week and
Just be
just
out
get
in the
away.
woods.
Yeah. Put your phone down. We did before mom and dad moved back to St. Louis a few years ago. We did like a week-long camping trip and
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 5 spots in 6 nights or 5 spots in 7 nights, or whatever it was. And it's crazy how fast, like day 1, you miss your phone a lot. Like the dopamine release of just doom scrolling is the best. And then day 2, it's like, I don't know, I kinda miss listening to music or whatever, and then, like, the 3rd day, you don't even really think about it anymore. It's amazing how fast all that goes away.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the it's interesting because we've become so technologically proficient and we've created, you know, we can make rocks think, in the form of computers. And we've leveraged that power to create the ultimate attention grabby soak up your time machine, like in the form of YouTube
'Cause our
and
time isn't needed anywhere else, so we create this bullshit to distract ourselves.
yeah. Not my content though. My content's really cool.
Yeah, same.
But there's this insanely like overpowered or like unbeatable coordination happening between the algorithms and these giant servers and these huge data analytics being driven to determine which human made content is most engaging. So you have humans, like what I do all day every day is sit around with my team and we try to figure out how to make you watch our videos. That's all we do. That's all we think about. It's all we talk about. How do we make the video better? How do we make the thumbnail better? How do we get someone to click? How do we get them to keep watching? How do we get them to like the video? How do we get them to watch more of the video? How do we get them past this point? That's all we think about. And at the same time, there's this super powerful algorithm which is kind of like currently like one of the most technologically proficient things humans have ever created that is designed to find and serve up the best videos. So you have this, it's a coordinated thing where it's like the peak of human endeavor and human creativity combined with the most technologically advanced and sophisticated thing we've ever made coming together to create something that is just very engaging, but almost to a point of being scary levels of engaging.
It's just too accessible, I think, like, it's in your pocket
Yeah.
all of the time,
Yeah.
where it feels so much better to, like, go out and hike to a cool river or something. Like, that reward is so much better, but it takes so much effort. I think there's just a people don't have enough time at the same time as they have too much time. Such a weird duality. like, you have a lot of time in the day, but you're like, each day has something, so you can't fully escape and, like, get out. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You can't drive far enough where you can put your phone down and, like, get away from distractions, but you have the distraction of your phone that you can do for an hour and a half.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, like if you drive 30 minutes to work and work 8 hours, that's 9 hours of your day. And then
Yeah, people break this shit down. I think there's so much more time in a day than people realize.
there is,
Work
and
9
there isn't.
with commu yeah, there is.
I,
Work 9 with commute, sleep 8 is 17, you still have 7 hours.
yes, but that's, you know, food, hanging out with your wife,
There's 1, there's 2,
talking to your
there's 4 left.
kids. It's difficult. It depends on what you do, but I would say in general, it's quite difficult to work all day and then come home and either pursue an additional project or go out into the woods. Or it's very difficult after
Definitely
work.
hard to go out in the woods, but I wish more people need to find something they're passionate about, like me included, honestly. It's cool that you found that, but I think people have enough energy other than like, there's a definitely big problem with people drinking diet sodas and eating shit all day, and it drains you, so you actually are tired at the end of the day, but I think if you find something you're passionate about, then you can find an hour or 2.
I think so. I agree with your sentiment, but there's some important stuff, some important caveats I would say to that. So, I quit. So, I got my programming degree. I got a job and was making good money, like 6 figures right out of college. It was amazing. Work from home. It was awesome. Um, However, it's pursuing what you're passionate about. As soon as I got my first paycheck from YouTube, I quit my job and went all in on YouTube because this is what I really love. And it didn't really. I mean, it worked out, but there was a point in time. I'd been doing it for about a year, and I burned through all of my savings. I had nothing left, and there was a point in time where Chloe was out of town, and the next Diablo season was about to come out. I had $50 in my bank account. That's all of the money I had. I had $50, and I went to the store and I priced out. Okay, I need like my next payment. I'm gonna get paid again in like 2 weeks. I have $50. What food can I buy for $50 that will last me 2 weeks? And I did that, and then that was when the D4 expansion came out, and then it was PoE 2, and I basically rebuilt all my savings from those two things. But I was like, I was out of gas, like I had nothing left, and that was after a year of like hard work. I burned through everything, and so it's like it's easy in principle to say like, oh, people should pursue what they're passionate about, but I was 2 weeks away from not being able to buy food, and
That's
basically
when you're just like, "I wanted to do a 3-day fast anyway, it's good for you."
right, right. But and I got lucky that the timings worked out the way that they did. So it's the point is it's easy to say like pursue what you're passionate about, but the
No, I
actual
didn't mean like,
economic reality of it
okay,
is much harsher.
spending an hour after your kids go to bed writing poetry or writing a book or painting a picture is a lot different than quitting your day job and going all in on YouTube.
But what are the odds that working an hour a day you're going to be able to compete with somebody who's doing it full time?
Really extremely low, but I think it helps your mental state a lot, and people tend to be happier.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. But I'll tell you, no creator on YouTube that has another job is competitive with me. You just can't. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You have to be all in.
I guess at that point, then you just play games with your friends. Like, you don't have to create content, you can just play PoE.
Yeah, exactly.
But I appreciate how enthusiastic and extreme you are about it.
Well, that's the yeah. A lot of it's yeah. It's a
I've
lot
talked
of
about
work,
this
but
on
it's
the
fun. I
podcast
love it.
before.
What'd you say?
I've had friends ask me or they text me and like, "Hey, like, I haven't felt good lately, like, I don't know, I'm in a little bit of a rut." And then I'll literally ask them, "When's the last time you did something? Like, what do you enjoy doing? And when's the last time you actually did it?" And the
Really?
disparity between the answers is kinda crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. What do they do? They work all day, I suppose, and then
I guess. Well, especially in school, gotta
oh
go to
yeah,
college and then work and homework and cook and clean and work out.
Doing what I wanted to do was never a problem for me. In fact, I had the opposite problem. It's like too
Yeah,
much time to
yeah,
really want to do.
that happens. What can you do?
It's hard to find
You're
those
paying for
balances
it, you might
though.
as well have a good time.
What's up?
I say you're paying for it, you might as well have a good time. It is hard to find the balance, though.
One of my friends that I respect a lot, like went to school, got his degree, went and got his job. He's extremely good at video games, probably better at video games than I am. And I've always tried to convince him to go pro or whatever, do content creation. He just never was interested. And he makes like good money, but not crazy. But he's just like building his retirement, like he and building his net worth, and just like I have a lot of respect for people that are able to go in and grind a 9 to 5 and build something. It's not that different from building your own thing. Like, to be honest with you, it takes a long time to like build up your retirement and get enough money to buy
For
a
sure,
house.
yeah.
And I have a lot of
And
respect
there
for
are
people
people that
putting in the grind.
definitely, yeah, and there's people that actually like their jobs too,
Hmm.
and that's what they're passionate about.
Well,
Like
even if
my
you're
my
not,
friend
I
Kyle, he
almost
fucking loves
respect people who do a job they're not passionate about but get it done. Almost respect that more. It's, I mean, somebody's
like
got
the
to
Mike
go out.
Tyson
What is that?
like the Mike Tyson quote, "Discipline is doing what you don't wanna do, but doing it like you love it."
Yeah. I mean, someone's got to go out during the snowstorm and fix the power lines, and somebody's got to, you know,
True,
run the coal
definitely.
factories. And
But they probably somewhat enjoy it. Like, obviously, oh my god, today sucked, like,
I
work
don't
sucked today,
know,
but it's
maybe. Well, probably.
I
I
think
mean,
people
definitely, like to an extent, or they wouldn't do it. But,
right.
but yeah, I think, I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've thought a lot more about the mindset that you're discussing of, pursuing what you're passionate about and finding, um, like meaning in your work and all that. But I've actually found the more life experience I get, the more I respect people who do the grueling 9 to 5 work.
That's fine. I'm not saying everybody should quit their day job. I'm just saying, like, find that there's time in the day to do
Yeah,
something you're passionate about.
yeah, you're right about
I
that.
watched a video pretty recently about, even if you don't share it, like, you don't post a picture of it or anything, you can just tear it up afterwards. If you write whatever, if you like poetry or you like painting or drawing or whatever, get it down on paper, and even if you tear it up, like, the psychological reward is still extremely evident. Like, even
Mm.
if you monitor brainwaves, like, nobody can see it. Even you won't even see it, like, your spouse or whatever. Nobody sees it ever
It
again. You
still
still
has
feel better,
positive. I believe it. Yeah, yeah. This
which is
is
probably hard for you and I to comprehend because it's like, I want as many people to see this as possible. Please tell me it was awesome.
well for me. I mean, for me, I guess like I can relate to that in the sense of making games. Like I've been working on various games that I've wanted to make for years and never released any of them. Well, I released one kind of, but you know, I can relate to that. I mean, it's really rewarding to work on, even if
Yeah. I remember long ago you were calling me into your room and I think you were making a game and you finally were able to have like your character equip a sword and kill a wolf or whatever.
it's, dude, it's game development is extremely fun. It's I would like to end up there. As I get older, these ARPG grinds are getting harder. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's save up some cash and make a game.
That's yeah, that's the long term plan. There's something it's dude, but it's I'm not gonna lie, the AI coming in and becoming the programmer makes it so much less fun. Like, because you feel like a moron if you don't code with AI because it takes so much longer. I mean, you write better code, but it doesn't need to be better. It just needs to
I wonder if
work.
that's ever going to be a thing like machine versus handmade where it's like this game was hand coded. We
Already
typed in
is.
really?
Yeah, you're seeing it all over on YouTube. People who don't use cameras have started turning on a camera at the very start of the video just to show that they're a real person. They've like they
Oh
show
dang,
the
that's
people start showing like their programs that they rate the art in as part of their intro or whatever. It's
AI is ridiculously good at making people that look real or making people look both that idea and separate, not and making people look completely different than they actually look.
oh yeah, very true.
It's actually gotten really good at that. Griffin and I were just talking about that. Like 6 months ago, you could watch a video and be like, "That's AI."
Yep.
And now you watch a video and it's like, "Oh my god, that was so cool." And then you go to the comments and
Yep.
everybody's like, "Eh." But, then everybody in the we discussed everybody in the comments is probably AI. That video could have been real, and those people are fake telling you it was fake.
That internet theory, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all in on that. I think
I
that's probably
It's 100% the case. It sucks. The internet was so cool. It's just not cool anymore. Like,
Yeah, we were talking about even, like, comments below also feel so repetitive. I think I said even the comments seem like a meme. Like,
dude,
they
it's
all share the same theme. It's really weird that
it
you
is like
mentioned that.
if you go back and you read like a Reddit thread or like a comment section that hasn't been active and you go back like 15 years, it feels like people talking. But it even like starting I remember it was really around the 2016 election is when things started to shift rapidly. And then with generative AI, it's just gotten 100 times worse. But it was like up until the 2016 election, things felt human. And then during that, there was this huge shift in the internet, and it just has never been the same since. And it's exactly what you described, where when you almost expect a certain type of comment, and then it's just there.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
never
yeah,
get.
you know what the comment section's gonna look like before you open it.
Yeah, very rarely is the top comment like, "Oh, that's clever." It's always just some
Yeah.
stupid shit.
That's kinda true. It feels like across the board, like, music is kind of all it feels less artistic, and movies are all sequels and remakes, and
Yeah, I mean
that's why
it's
podcasts are on fire right now.
I mean, yeah, it's happening in every industry aside from YouTube. Actually, I would argue. I mean, YouTube, yeah, YouTube is
You
still
think?
evolving rapidly.
Because last time you did the podcast, you compared your videos to the beastification of YouTube, so it feels like everybody's doing the same shit on YouTube too.
Well, there's like essentially like if you imagine like viewership is like a graph where like your y-axis is your viewership and then x is style of video, I guess. There's a bunch of styles of videos that can get a ton of views. It's so like Mr. Beast style, there's negative engagement where it's like, oh, the game sucks now. There's podcast style, there's so many styles of videos. I think creativity is like peaking on YouTube, I would argue. Yeah, Mr. Beast created a formula that a lot of creators follow, but there's a lot of variance inside that formula still, and there's also a lot of other formulas that still work at the same time.
I wonder if it's like the independency, like independent creators on YouTube and like individual podcasters versus like movie studios or
Well, for
record
sure.
labels.
Like the cost for me to make a video is a few hours of my time. The cost for Hollywood to make a movie, I'm sure. I don't know. Have you seen the graphs where they compare the increasing cost of movie production in Hollywood versus the revenue?
Yeah, I just meant like the creativity level. But yeah, yeah, I have.
Well, the point is, the reason why they're not as creative is because the stakes are so high, they can't afford to be creative. It's too
Mm.
risky. And so, in a lot of cases, so like, you look at the Avengers movies or whatever, where they're spending like multiple hundreds of millions of dollars on a movie. They're not going to gamble that movie on a risky, like, plot point. They're going to do something safe
Yeah.
and reliable that's,
Dude, they're coming out with a new Marvel movie this year, and the budget was like $1 billion.
yeah.
They're expecting 1.6 back on opening week, and they spent like $1 billion freaking dollars on this movie.
That is insane. And then the other thing that's happening, and as the budget goes up, your creative space goes down, right? Because you can't take as much risk. And at the same time, the other thing that's happening is the breadth of your appeal has to get bigger and bigger and bigger to match the budget. It's like when you spend $1 billion on a movie like what you're describing, this has to be a cultural phenomenon that many people, and even potentially cross cultures, where like this also has to be successful in Chinese markets potentially. And this creates this thing where it almost has to appeal to it has to appeal to everyone, which means it appeals to no one, which is why it feels empty and lifeless in a lot of cases. I mean, some movies are really good, but
Mm, that makes sense.
so it's
Yeah,
like,
like your target audience is like 100,000 people.
yeah, exactly. So it's like you have this narrowing band of potential creativity because the risk of creativity is too high. And at the same time, you have this broadening band where it has to appeal to more and more and more people. And so you end up with something that feels generic and uninteresting. uninspired. Whereas like, yeah, on YouTube, you know, my audience is a few 100,000 people, so I just have to make videos that they like, and it's very niche. So there's a lot of room for me to, you know, I don't have to do a million views, right?
Yeah. I gotta be out of here by noon. So you got any closing thoughts?
I think
Last ideas?
I'll say I'll say this because of my conversations with you in the past and stuff. I think the algorithms that drive social media and the humans that drive the content can make things look much worse than they are.
I don't agree. Oh, well, okay, they can. They can. But I also think that's a good thing that we're finally able to be aware of things that we never would have been aware of in the past.
True, but also with heightened awareness, you need a matching drop in sensitivity.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely become desensitized to things. And I actually think they might do that on purpose.
I'm not saying can be, I'm saying should be desensitized. Because it's like, you know, if you have an insane amount of data, you can't be super sensitive about every data point. You have to pick and choose what to care about. Caring about
True.
everything makes you care about nothing.
It's definitely impossible to be up to date on everything.
Yeah, so I think it's best to lower sensitivity and focus on a few key things that you really want to be knowledgeable about and informed on.
Yeah. I'm just grateful to get the other perspective because honestly, I don't think I would know what Israel did to Gaza if I didn't have like Instagram and YouTube.
I'm not up to date on the
So,
issue, but yeah.
and now Lebanon too. But I also don't watch the news. So maybe it is in the news and that's just how I get my news. I don't know.
Well, that whole issue, I spent like when the war first started, I spent a long time getting caught up because it was interesting to me. But that was like the last thing I got obsessed with. With that wasn't productive because like who the fuck cares? But
Yeah.
it was like in order to like understand the context of what's happening, you have to okay. So starting 200 years ago, there was like
Yeah. And then somebody else like, no, 3,000 years ago.
yeah, it's like the Middle East is like the most geopolitically complicated thing in the world.
Yeah. It'd be
Literally.
great if they just stopped killing each other. We should just maybe they need to kill each other, and that way they're not the overpopulated mice that feel the need to do drugs.
I mean, the West has gone through a few killing sprees in our time.
Yeah. Probably, again, currently, arguably, but it's all right. We can wrap this bad boy up. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for your help getting all this set up.
Yeah, it
And
was fun. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Hope the revival goes well for you.
yeah, I hope so. We got you this week, and then Spencer next week. He's putting out an album relatively soon. I don't think he maybe wants me to give a release date, and then it doesn't happen. Yeah, I got some cool ideas. I think
Nice.
put a good twist on it, and yeah, see what happens.
Good-
So thanks again. Thanks for
Yep.
listening, everybody.